Hello, Dubai. Good morning. You have an exceptional panel of people over here. And what I'm going to do is introduce them to you. I'm going to give the mic to them. I'm not going to spend time on me. And towards the end of it, I'm going to give you an option to ask them questions. These are all people who have been in this space, don't understand the space very well. So I'm going to start with, right from my left, Matthias Mende.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. So yeah, I've been in this space since 2016. Founding member Dubai Blockchain Center, building bonus market, celebrity brand token launchpad, but also metaverse entertainment agency in the near future in the decent world. So yeah, excited to talk here and answer some cool questions. Thank you.
Alexia.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Alexia Hefti. I'm executive chairman at the Abed Group. We're a venture studio based out of Barbados. We have 13 blockchain regtech companies, everything from CBDC to asset-backed stable coins to metaverse special economic zone that we're building. Previously, I started Deloitte Canada's blockchain tax practice and was also at Deloitte UAE. Thanks.
Hello, everyone. My name is Anna Agua. I'm a co-founder and partner of Lexlo Office. We are the leading law firm for the fintech projects in Estonia. We work with the international clients and help them with the setup, structuring, licensing process to start operational business. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? My name is Larry Pang, head of business development at IoTex. We got started back in 2017, and we're blockchain and IoT platform that's trying to connect the real world to the Web3 universe. Excited to share some insights with this great panel today.
All right. So before we get in, I want a show of hands from all you guys over here. You know, I've been coming to Dubai from 2016. How many of you own a Bitcoin or an Ethereum or one of those things in your wallets? Okay. It's better. You know, when I came 4 years ago, literally nobody had this. You know, the hands wouldn't even go up. So how about NFTs? Anybody having NFTs over here? Okay, all right, this is cool, all right. So I'll start with Matthias over here. Right now, so he has bonus, and they are trying to do things in the metaverse. This is supposed to be the next big thing, because you see, Mark Zuckerberg or Facebook is investing $10 billion a year, and that's what they've promised for the next 5 years. That's how much they're going to invest in the metaverse. So if you don't know what the metaverse is, it's time for you to learn about it. The easiest way, if you don't have too much time, I would say is just see Ready Player One. If you haven't seen the movie, that's the fastest way you can get an idea of the metaverse. So Matthias, what do you see as far as bonus is concerned and the metaverse? What is the opportunity?
The opportunity is huge. So basically, we aim to give the fans a much better and closer experience with their celebrities and their favorite brands. And the opportunity with the metaverses is that we can basically there are technologies to clone the celebrity, make his virtual digital avatar, and then people can actually interact with him in the metaverse. And there are so many utilities and use cases. And there are even games, so we're also partnering with some games app, which are on Oculus. And the idea is that some people who do sports make sports with their favorite celebrities, that they run with them. There's just so much utilities. So with the Decent World, we're also building the houses where the fans basically can come in and meet them. But beyond of the metaverse and the Physiverse in the real world, also we give them a lot of benefits. For example, like the top token holder gets a meet and greet with the real celebrity. The top 30 token holders get birthday messages, like as NFTs, and maybe pre-sale for tickets before public sale. So the top token, that the token holders has a priority access. And a lot of utilities just to make the relation better, but also vice versa. We want that the celebrities benefit by weaponize actually their fans, by them helping them to spread their music or whatever they do on social media. And we track this with analytic tools, and this is one thing of the future. But metaverse-wise, I'm completely excited because this is the biggest industry, as you explained very well, and we will have unlimited use cases. That's why Metaverse Entertainment Agency.
Perfect. And now, regarding metaverses, Alexia and the Abbott Group, they have special economic zones, right? That is the plan for the metaverse, right? Something like that. Can you explain a little more about that? Now, this is going to get really interesting. Think about it. You have special economic zones in Dubai where you can do physical businesses. Now, think about it in the metaverse.
So there are approximately 5,000 special economic zones, or SEZs, in the world. Just over that, and we're about to become the newest joiner to that group, and that's the Metaverse Special Economic Zone. And the Metaverse Special Economic Zone was created to basically help a lot of us, a lot of the projects, the people we are, and the projects that we serve. So I'm sure many of you are digital nomads. Even if you're not digital nomads, you have a company, but you're here, you're in New York, you're in France, you're all over the world. Maybe you're a DAO and you're not registered anywhere, but you're worried about personal liability, or when disputes arise, you don't know where they're going to take place. Or maybe you're a metaverse business, and that means you're a business that will be operating purely in the metaverse, selling skins to avatars perhaps. Perhaps you're none of those things now, but the reality is that that's where everyone's going to be in the future. You're moving around, everything's global, everything's digital. And so in reality, having business licenses today, I was a corporate tax lawyer for Deloitte, so I dealt with thousands and thousands of companies for just one parent company to manage taxation and legal issues and dispute resolution issues. The reality is that those structures don't work for the future, and they definitely even don't work for our businesses today. And I can tell you that from my own experience running the Abed Group and the many companies that we have. So the Metaverse Special Economic Zone is going to be a home that provides a business license to these types of businesses. In addition to the business side, there are DAOs. There are homes for DAOs around the world. We know that Wyoming has done, the best job that they could, a really good job, in fact. But we're working now with regulators, and I personally have been working with regulators since 2017, work with them day in and day out, to craft a DAO regulatory framework that's going to make sense for DAOs. That doesn't say you have to be a corporation, because you're not a corporation. It is supposed to be in line with what it is that we want to achieve when we utilize DAOs. So that's what we're creating right now. We're super excited, and we're super excited to actually launch as an SCZ with a full SCZ license, and all of the companies that will be coming and signing up under MSES will also be able to get banking, if that's something that they'll want to do. But aside from the pitch, because who cares about that, it's really an exciting project because it caters to where we're all going, and ultimately we want to be able to operate cross-jurisdictionally without all of the hassles as it relates to disputes, taxation, and the legal side of things.
All right, guys. I'm going to give you something to think about before I go into my next question. Shoes on digital shoes, these are not real shoes, by the way, they were selling for $5,000 when Nike was struggling to sell their LeBron James signed shoes for $250. These couches that you see over here where you can sit, it's a really nice couch, you can maybe charge $2,000 for that in a store. In November, there were 10 couches, digital couches, by the way. You can't sit there. Your avatar maybe can go and sit over there. They sold for $70,000 a piece. So I want you to seriously think about what the metaverse is, at least by looking at these numbers. Now think of it. Imagine the cost of building a real furniture and selling it for $2,000, whereas you can create one in thin air and sell it for $70,000. Now that is an opportunity. I'm not saying that you can go and do it or anything. Now, when we think about something like this, what are the laws concerning this? Can I simply make a couch and sell it for $70,000? Anna, what is happening on the regulatory space? Can I go and do this, something like this? Or are they going to put me in jail? Am I really, can somebody complain against me saying that he didn't give me a real couch, I can't sit on this, or he didn't sell me a real parcel of land?
Yes, so from the regulatory perspective, we are in the very interesting time right now, the time of development of the new regulation for especially DAOs, for NFTs, but it's a very challenging time when actually countries are going on the absolutely separate ways. So we are having the countries who said that we don't have the regulation and they do not plan to have the regulation. We are having the countries who are having the very strict requirements for all the virtual asset service providers, for all the companies who would like to serve the clients and who provide the virtual asset as a service. And we are having the countries who would like to attract all the blockchain technology companies, all the VASPs to their country, and they have some kind of special benefits as taxation or very low requirements for incorporation or licensing. So it is very difficult actually for the market players to find the suitable jurisdiction if they need to incorporate and if they decide so, and to be compliant with this. But the fact is that if we are thinking about the metaverse, we need to think that the rules that we are having in the real world right now, in the financial world, in the compliance world, should be implemented there as well. Because it can be not a situation when we are hiding from the current regulation. So it should be, the regulation should be supportive and adapting to the new reality. But of course, we cannot talk about avoiding the general principles of the regulation for such projects. So if we are, for example, talking about the MiCA regulation, the proposal of the MiCA regulation, which will be the fundamental regulation in the European Union for all market players who are providing the virtual assets as a service, then MiCA says that you need to have a legal entity in the Europe, and that's basically means all. That it's like a dead of the DeFi projects. And the answer, the proposal is absolutely clear. They want to have the legal entity and the persons behind it who will be responsible for some illegal activity, for some problematic problems. It's also related to the consumer protection questions, but it's very hard for the market players who are trying, for example, in the future to run the DeFi project in Europe. So it is a proposal. We do not know what will be the final text, but at the moment, according to the MiCA regulation, if you want to provide the virtual asset service and related services, you need to be regulated.
So basically, the state wants to put somebody in jail. That's all they want to do, right? Eventually, they want to fill the jails. All right.
Yeah.
Now, Larry, so IoTex, they're here about putting things off from medical devices or all these low-range, low-frequency devices, the data on the blockchain. Now, here comes a scalability or an interoperability problem, right? You have Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all who can do maybe only 7 transactions a second, or 10, or 14, or 100. How do you guys manage that challenge? Because you are dealing with medical devices. They are going to have data coming every second. If they're monitoring my sleep or my heart rate, and you're using the blockchain. Could you tell the audience, what is the future? How is it being done? And what is happening over there?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think we think about scalability and interoperability a lot between blockchains, but I think thinking about interoperability between the real world and the blockchain space is also very important to think about, right? IoTex, we work with all types of devices, from healthcare wearables to automotive, smart meters for renewable energy, asset trackers for supply chain, and it's important to know that blockchain is not a silver bullet that's going to solve everything, right? When we think about all these frontier technologies coming together, blockchain, artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, we see IoT as the data generators, blockchain as the mechanism by which to add trust to that data, and artificial intelligence as the way to extract value from that data, right? So when we think about scalability, all of these things have to be scalable independently, but when you add them together, they also have to merge correctly, right? In the Internet of Things space, there's all these different edge devices that talk to gateways, that talk to cloud servers. So a lot of that scalability is already handled in the Internet of Things side. The real question is, how do we convert these insights from these devices to the blockchain in a way that's verifiable and trustworthy, right? IoTex, we also think about our position in the broader Web3 universe. IoTex, we're an EVM-compatible blockchain. We have built bridges over to Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, Polygon, Arbitrum, et cetera. And we really see ourselves as the hub for IoT data in the future. Interoperability between general purpose chains, it's kind of like thinking about GCP and AWS talking to each other. It's useful, but it's really these niche chains that offer a specific utility to the broader space that are going to want other chains to be interoperable with us, right? We have a specific utility or a specific type of data that other chains may want in the future. So that's really our focus. We built a really great tech stack to solve these scalability challenges, solve this bridge between the real world and Web3. I really like what was said in the previous fireside chat about digital twins, right? Digital twins mirroring reality to the metaverse. All these things are going to be very possible. Even work out in the real world, and your avatar can get stronger in the metaverse. So a lot of crazy ideas that we're looking forward to pursuing.
It's crazy and exciting, So we were supposed to have Austin from Kraken over here. So, but the topic of this panel is where are we now and what's next, right? So one of the key things that happened in the last few years is something called DEXs, or decentralized exchanges. So you have centralized exchanges. There is Binance and Coinbase, two companies. Like take Binance as an example. In a year, they went to $1 billion in profitability. Coinbase went to do that in 4 years. That was first in the history of startups. Most startups are not profitable. These two guys became so profitable, and it was almost like $100 billion IPO from Coinbase. Now, there is something called, now it's still a centralized exchange, so you have a decentralized currency, which you're trying to get it in your hand, which is on a centralized exchange. So people have come out with decentralized exchanges and automated market-making models. So you can be like a Goldman Sachs. So earlier, only companies like Goldman Sachs and UBS could become market makers. Now, market making is a way of getting money because you are at that table where you are the guys who are authorized by the stock exchanges like New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ to make sure the markets, or you're being the liquidity provider. Now, you needed to have a huge balance sheet, a lot of money to make sure. But the moment it has come to DEXs and AMMs, you with even $100 or $1,000 can become a market maker. Now, this was one of the biggest things in the last few years. And this is a threat to many of the exchanges, or you can say it's not a threat, that they can coexist. Both of them can make money. So you have an option to pay lesser fees and go through a decentralized exchange. Now, that being said, on the regulatory side, to Alexia, what is happening besides the special economic zones? You invest in a lot of regulatory projects, right? Could you tell us something outside the economic zone? What is there in the regulatory side that you deal with governments, you deal with policy, you want to make sure all your projects can get banking, for example. It's very hard to get banking, right? What do you do for that? How do you help your companies?
Great question. So, as you said, all of our companies are RegTech blockchain companies. So I primarily work, again, with regulators and governments. And that goes from regulators that are trying to bring in frameworks to either protect their consumers or jump on the bandwagon because there are smaller nations that are excited about the opportunities and the foreign direct investment opportunities available, which is quite standard. But we also work a lot with governments, which is a group that actually has been jumping onto utilizing blockchain, whether I'm sure you've heard about the land registry and kind of the land registry and identity type use cases that a lot of governments are exploring right now, or the central bank digital currency side. But there's actually also the banking side. We forget about banking for governments. And we've seen this recently actually with what's going on with Russia. there are a lot of governments in the world that have been time and again de-risked. And what that means that they themselves as governments have been de-risked, and we've seen that as soon as sanctions are slapped on nations, as well as NGOs and individuals being de-risked, and that entirely cuts you off from the financial system. I have no doubt that either people in this room or people in this room's friends are currently facing these issues globally. I'm sure you have Russian friends are completely being left out right now. We've tried to make payments and they're being blocked by correspondent banking relationships. But we've actually seen governments who are now looking at blockchain and what it can do for them. So we finalized a consulting project about 8 months ago with a government that was looking to set up the first digital bank underpinned by stablecoin, right? And this is a non-sovereign nation that was looking to basically, amongst other things, bring in industries like blockchain and fintech and cannabis to their nation, and the bank said no. So not only do banks say no to you and me, they also say no to governments, which mean that governments cannot actually look at expanding their economic opportunities for their people or bringing in industries that they want to bring in because the banks say no, which means companies don't want to go to you. So in this particular instance, setting up a digital bank that allows you to kind of bypass traditional banking and say the government can own this and give bank accounts to its people and or industries it wants to bank is quite exciting. On the regulatory side, though, Nithin, I do have one question based on what you said. You said that with the MiCA regulation, you're going to have an entity. Now that kind of really bothers me because I don't understand how DAOs are supposed to operate in that environment, and if European nations are basically saying no to DAOs, we do not like the way that you are thinking about community organizations that have different governance structures than typical corporations. What have you seen? What are they talking about? And what regulation do you see? Is it that they're creating separate frameworks for DAOs, or they don't want them?
Yes, this is a good question. Actually, if we are coming back to this MiCA regulation, so MiCA, according to MiCA regulation, there is a list of specific services which falls under virtual asset services. So it's, for example, exchange, custody, even consultancy on the crypto assets. It's issuance of the tokens as well. So if the DAO project is falling under those services, then yes, the legal entity should be in place. If we are coming back, if they are working on the other legal frameworks, then yes. And MiCA is especially for the market players for VASP, so the virtual asset service providers. Regarding this, there was also a discussion what's happening if the legal entity is not regulated in or is not incorporated in the Europe. What happens if I have the company in Singapore, but I would like to offer the services, for example, in the European market? And MiCA do not solve this problem at the moment. So according to this, it looks like it should be registered as well in the European Union, but you know, it's just a proposal. The expected time of the MiCA regulation enforcement was April 2022, but April is already now, as you may understand. So it will be not enforced within, I believe, 1 or even 2 years. And they're still thinking about the text of the final text of the regulation. But yeah, it was one of the big discussions in the European Commission. Should it be a legal entity or no? And the final answer now is yes.
So, to get your, how many of you over here know what a DAO is, a DAO? If everybody says yes, then I'm not going to explain it. Okay, I only see one hand. So let me explain to you what a DAO is. It's called a decentralized autonomous organization, okay? So this was the question that Alexia asked Anna. So typically right now when you make a company, you go and register in your, wherever you are. If you're in Dubai, you might have a private corp or an LLC. In the US, you have something called an LLC or an S corp or a C corp. Now this is regarding how do you get taxed? Because after you register this, you might want to raise money. What do? You have to go to a bank because people might send you a check or they might send you a wire. So you have to go to a bank, and they will ask you, where are your articles of incorporation? Because before they give you an account, they want to know who is the managing director, who can they go after if you commit a fraud and things like that. So a DAO is a concept where, let's say, 5 of us, we can come together and say, we're going to send money to a smart contract, and maybe our goal is to buy the Constitution of the US, because our money goes, and there is a Constitution DAO that was created. That's why I'm bringing this example. So people pool money, and we're going to vote among ourselves, what are we going to do with the money? So let's say 3 of us voted that we wanted to buy the Constitution, and 2 of them voted that they wanted to buy Manchester United with the money. So it's our vote, and we are going to try to buy the Constitution. But again, in the real world, the problem is the guys who are selling the Constitution need not have an Ethereum account. So what do? You have to still convert this to real dollar, go through Coinbase or somebody like that, and send it to them. And they might ask, like, where are you guys getting this money from? So in the US, for example, in Wyoming, right now there's something called a DAO LLC. So there is a legal structure. When you make a DAO, there's one person who can decide to become that person who can sign the bank account. So they will let you create bank accounts for your DAOs. So, and this is legal. Colorado is trying that, Texas is trying that, because in the US it's a state-based structure. Each state, like 30 states allow you to sell marijuana in the US, but federally you're not allowed to sell marijuana, so you can't have a bank account, but you can sell, you can keep the money. It's just that you can keep the cash in your pocket or in a vault. So this is why DAOs are important. Now we can decide among ourselves, because the future of work is very different. It's not like all of us are going to sit in the same room. It's not like before we had this big building in Dubai or a big building in Abu Dhabi or in New York where we come together, we do everything from that building. No, today Anna could be in Abu Dhabi, I'm in the US, and Larry is in the US, somebody else could be in Hong Kong. We could be working for the same company, or we could have the same idea, we want to come together. How do we distribute our profits? So that's where DAOs are important, and this is the future of work. DAOs got a bad rep from 2016, a hack that happened. There was a hack it was called the Parity DAO. And because of that, it kept a low profile, but it started going up after the NFT boom and the DeFi boom. So the next boom is possibly a DAO boom. It's going to happen. So do read about this after you leave over here. Yes, Larry.
Yeah, I think DAOs are, this panel is about blockchain trends in 2022 and beyond, right? I think DAOs are very interesting for the future, but today, they're not very decentralized and they're not very autonomous.
Right.
They're kind of just organizations. And I think to really get the consensus of a DAO to go forward, one thing that's really restrictive is human bias, subjectivity being inserted into a DAO, right? IoTex is really bullish on the future of DAOs. We think machine DAOs are all very interesting.
Yes.
Trusted machines that are unbiased, that just do what they're told, contributing resources or data or services to a DAO that can be governed maybe by humans that own these devices. I think that's a very interesting concept. But I just wanted to say that I'm a part of many DAOs. It's kind of a Discord group with some people in it. But I think adding the legal entity structure, the regulatory structure to it is very important so people understand the purpose, the financials of the DAO. But the bias is something that's really tricky, especially when you start to think about DAOs in the metaverse, right? I think, how do you trust people where you've never met before? If you're trying to cooperate anonymously with these, or pseudonymously with these people, how does that look in the future?
It is tough. I definitely agree. But as he said, it's perfectly correct, okay? DAOs, end of the day, there's a human body that's involved, and humans can behave erratically. Whereas with machines, so what is a machine DAO? Think of 2 cars going on, okay? They're going on the road, and the car wants to trade data with the other car. Let's say you've programmed your car, allowing it to trade data. Every time you're driving and there's a car that's close by, you can connect to the car. You might think it is not happening. It's not so far away from that, because you can sell data from your car to the other car or to the other a machine, a box over there of a service station who might want to get the data from your car to give you advertisements or things like, oh, it's time to service your car. These things are very possible. And on the machine side, there's no subjectivity. You program it. You don't have to worry that somebody else is going to vote against you or something like that. So machine DAOs are realistically more possible today, or it makes more sense than a human-based DAO because there are biases involved. Like AI, there's always going to be a human bias involved in an AI program. Now, Matthias, so all of you guys, you should know that Matthias is a big influencer on Instagram. And community is one of the biggest things behind all these blockchain projects. It's about belief systems and it's about community. Without the community or that belief system by all the people, there is really your Bitcoin will have zero value. Your Ethereum will have zero value. It's only because the community is giving it value or giving it a price. So Matthias is a big influencer on Instagram, and his projects raise money just because he's an influencer. His fans have funded bonus, right? Is that correct? Yep, okay.
Yes, it's correct.
Matthias, tell us for the future, what should people who are trying to do projects on the blockchain side or crypto side, what should they think from a community aspect? How should they go about that?
Well, that's a tough question because there's the capitalistic side.
He doesn't want to give a secret, guys. He's trying not to give us secrets.
And there's the community side. So in case of the scenario which you described, I've been giving a lot of tips on Instagram, and actually everything went through. I called Solana in 2020 before anybody knew it. And all the people wanted also often to get into IDOs or IOs. And I also was promoting them, but there's always those lottery system because it's always oversubscribed. So the followers, when they knew that I'm doing a project, I received many messages, please give us the first allocation, we want to be there, please. And then I thought, and I just promoted it to my community, and I got like 1,800 people immediately, but only 400 could invest because I only raised a small amount, because I like to raise and build and raise and build, and that's what's happening. But it's like if you have a following and the people believe in you and they feel that you make sense, then probably it's possible to raise from the people close by. And it's also good to have those people because they will support you on the long way. So now if somebody comes in my Telegram and writes something bad, I will have probably few people protecting me just like that. And I feel that's very important.
Guys, think of that. When you're trying to raise money for your projects, think of the fact that you don't go to have to beg to the Sequoias or the KPCBs and all. Think of if your fans are giving you the money, they will support you all the way. By the way, if you have questions, please do raise your hands for any of the panelists over here so that we can give you a mic and so that you can interact with them. These are all famous people in their own ways. You know, if you're trying to raise money or are trying to understand about community, trying to understand about law or, IoT, please do raise your hands. They will give you a mic out. Oh, there is a question over there.
Hello everyone, I'm Ankita. So I have a question for Matthias. As Nithin was rightly saying that you can have your couch on Metaverse. So as a user and as a developer, I'm confused. What if I buy a land in Metaverse? What's its future? So I am not understanding the exact usability that in Metaverse, if we buy something, what will be its uses? How can I use it? So
is the question directed for anyone or anyone?
Yeah, Matthias.
Matthias. So can you repeat that question? It was not very clear. Just hold your mic closer, okay?
So in Metaverse, as you rightly said, we can buy anything, which has no relevance to the physical world. So now people are buying land in Metaverse, they are buying houses in Metaverse. So my question is, how is it useful for users, or do you have any use cases where it would be useful, and as a developer, we as a team can include it in our projects? That's what I wanted to ask.
Okay, I hope I understood it well. So if somebody buys a house in the metaverse, then obviously this metaverse needs to have the users, and then they need to somehow get into the house to interact, whereby the house could be anything from inside. So maybe it's small looking from outside, but inside it could be a whole stadium or a warehouse. But again, it needs the users. So in Decent World, what we do, we interconnect other metaverses and put them into houses on the world map, and people will buy those houses or other applications or projects, and then the whole other metaverse, which is maybe a competition, but we don't see competition, we see to connect everything together. They can utilize the space the same way like somebody goes to the Oculus, goes into a metaverse app, and then he's also playing it in the house. In the metaverse, everything it's infinite.
To answer your question in something more you can think about, are you religious? Or do you worship gods?
Yes.
Do they really exist? It's in your subjective mind, right? So people will have different use cases, right? When I told my friend about the land on Decentraland, he asked me, Nithin, can I go and live there? I'm like, no, you can't live there. I said, maybe your avatar can live there. He's like, why should I buy that piece of land? I said, so this friend of mine, he really bought real estate and he was not living there. I'm like, do you live there? He said, no. Why did you buy? He said, because I can sell it maybe at a higher price. I'm like, same thing you can look about it in the metaverse. You bought a piece of land. Maybe somebody else wants to buy that piece of land. Maybe it is right next to Snoop Dogg. All right? So there was a piece of land that sold on Decentraland because Snoop Dogg had his property right next door. So it sold for $450,000 for that parcel. So you can think of it as an investment. Not only physical investments are investments sometimes. Intangibles are possible too. Like paintings can be real, or you can have an NFT painting or an NFT art. People say, why are people buying these Bored Apes and CryptoPunks for $3 million or $12 million? My question is, why do people buy real paintings for $160 million? If you can buy a real painting for $100 million, you can think of a digital painting at $12 million. It's still cheap, right? So guys, time is, because in constraint to time, there's one, okay, one more question. We're going to take one more question, guys. Somebody else has raised their hand. Just one more question. Hopefully that answered something to think about.
Hello, my name is Lily. I'm also a lawyer, and I have a question towards Anna. We spoke about DAOs, and I just want to hear what's your opinion, how will governments treat DAOs in the future? I've already read some legislators who wrote opinions that they're technology neutral. So what's your vision? How would governments treat DAOs in the future?
So my personal opinion, I can share here only my personal opinion. I believe that DAO is a very interesting new model of structuring the business. And I believe that we can talk only about some adoption of the already current requirements and regulation that we are having in the traditional financial world. The regulation is moving we see this in, for example, a lot of countries who started in, 2017, 2018, regulate the virtual asset service providers, and the requirements were very low, so basically every company was able to enter the market, and now they are facing the new level of the regulation when they need to comply with the new requirements, which are pretty similar to the traditional financial regulation. They need to do the same thing as e-money institutions, payment institutions, investment companies. So if we are talking about DAOs in the future, I believe that some part of the current regulations should be implemented, but taking into account the specific of the structuring and model of this business. Thank you.
Guys, give a big hand to Matthias, Alexia, Anna, and Larry. And if you have questions when they come out, you can catch them out over there. All right? Thank you so much for being a great audience.